Okay, I have one more technique I want to throw at you, and that is the notion of static data. And I'm still in the Tokyo Store application. And what if I wanted to add a private data member that would keep track of the number of items in the inventory? We know there are 3 items in this inventory, but if this were a real store, that would always be changing. New products are coming in, maybe other products are sold out or discontinued. We're not going to carry them anymore. So the inventory count is constantly changing for this type of business. So if I did something like this, I'll create a variable called item count, okay, as a private data member, just a regular private data member. Let's take a look at a visual of what this would look like in memory. So I have my 3 objects in memory, and each object has a picture, a name, a description, and a price. Okay, they all have their different data. Okay, loaded in memory. And then I have this item count that I just added, and it's 3 all across the board because there are 3 items in the inventory. So what I have here is redundant data. Okay, so I mean, it's not the end of the world, but think of this though. Let's say this is a real program for a real store, and this number is always changing. And let's say there are not 3 products, there are thousands of products in this store. So every time a product comes or goes, I have to find a way to loop through the entire inventory, thousands of products, and update this every time. And this can be happening constantly. Imagine the overhead that it would take every time a new product is added or discontinued, thousands of products, and having to just, loop through the whole inventory and update this number every time. And it's always the same number all across the board. It's, it's the inventory count. They all have the same number of items stored as the inventory count. So this is not the best way to do it. A better way to do it is like this, okay? Each object has its own data that's specific to it, the name, the description, and the price. But as far as the one that's shared, that's the same all across the board, we'll put that in a separate variable. It's not part of any one object. It'll be part of the class, but not any one object. So it'll be separate because it's the same for all of them. And they're all looking at the same memory location. They don't each have their own copy, which would be redundant and, as we said before, not at all efficient if we had to update this number. So if they're all looking at the same location in memory, we only have to, every time a product comes or goes, we just have to update it one time and just everything falls into place nicely. And we can do this using static data. So looking at my class here, I am going to make this static data. Okay, that's it. You use the keyword static in front of it, and then you get this. Okay, your separate variable. And, okay, so here's the thing. Every time an object is created in memory, I want to make sure this gets incremented. Okay, every time an object is created in memory, this has to be incremented. And I know the perfect place to put that increment statement, and that is in the constructor. Okay, I have 2 constructors. I have to put it one in each. So the reason I'm putting it here is because the constructor fires or executes automatically every time an object is created in memory. If I create an object for my inventory, one of these 2 is going to execute in memory, and the increment is going to take place. Okay, in this application, it's just going to be this one. I'm not using the default constructor, but you should cover all corners and make sure you put your increment statement in both of those. So now every time a new object is created, this item count is going to be incremented, and I'll have an accurate item count throughout. Okay, so one more thing, I just want to add a property. Okay, this is private. Oh, you know what? Notice I don't have the word private in front of my data members here. I don't know if I said this in the last week, but if you don't specify private data, you get private data anyway. So that's the default for classes in C#. If you don't have private in front of that, know that the data is private anyway. I think I did say this last week in a video that I would like you to maybe add it. I mean, I'm not going to take away points or anything if you don't add it, but when you explicitly type the word private, then I know you're thinking about private data and you're thinking about the accessibility of data. Okay, so anyway, getting back to this, I would just right-click, Quick Actions and Refactoring. There we go. And we'll look at the property is generated all the same, but it does have the word static in front of it, that's all. Okay. All right, so over to the form. I have a label here, and I want to say there are X number of products in the inventory, and I want to display an accurate count. So I'm going to do that in my update controls. Let's see. Okay. I have a line of code I'm going to paste in here. Okay, so there are, I called it item count, not inventory count. Okay. There are this many product items in the inventory. Now, here's the thing. Look at this. I'm not accessing that static data the same way I am up here. Up here, I'm referencing a specific object in the array, calling upon the item name, the description, and so on. Static data is different. You don't access it for any specific object. Okay, remember the setup here. The specific objects themselves don't possess this data. The static data is separate from the objects. So the way you access the data is not the same. You access the data with the class name itself. You see the difference here? This is an object accessing the data, whatever data item you're interested in, with the dot operator through the individual object in the array. That's why we see the array notation. This one, all you do is type the name of the class itself. See, when you type the name of the class, you put the dot operator in there, not a lot comes up, but the static property is going to come up, okay? And that's what we want here. Oops, don't want that. Okay, so I will run this. We'll see what the output looks like. And there you go. There's our static data at work there.